What's up everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jonah White. I'm an apocalyptic author. So today I'm going to be sharing 7 different things that I did that you could use in order to sell 100 copies of your debut novel within the first week. Now for me, I know this isn't the best numbers, but it was pretty good for me being a first-time author, and plus for me, I'm writing a long series, so I have time to grow my base. You can use some of these strategies in order to sell just as many books, if not even more, if you would like to add these to some of your strategies beforehand. A lot of these strategies are going to apply obviously before your book releases, but obviously you have to start early. You can't try to wait a week before your release date in order to start doing a lot of these tactics. So that's what I'm going to be sharing with you guys in this video. If you haven't already, feel free to like and subscribe. That way you can help support my channel, as well as you can feel free to subscribe to my author site. It is www.jonahwauthor.com. There you can receive updates on what I'm doing with my Shadows of Darkness series, as well as receive free gifts. For instance, right now, if you subscribe today, you can receive my short story in relation to the first book in my Shadows of Darkness novel, and you'll get that for free if you subscribe today. It's totally free, and I suggested you try it out. But without further ado, let's get on with the video. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is that for me, even though I finished the first draft of my book probably a little bit over a year before I actually released the book, the thing is I had to start fairly early on, right away, when it came to letting people know about my book and that I finished it, and what my intentions were with that first draft. I told everyone I'm gonna be publishing my book. It may not be now, but it may be within a year or so. And I just pushed off that release date because I was originally trying to go for an April release date, which was 8 months from when I first finished that draft. But then I pushed it off 5 extra months because I needed time to market and let people know about my book and let my brand grow and let my credibility as an author grow, because you need to allow more time before you release your book to establish that you're an author and to build up your audience. Don't rush, because if you rush, you're going to limit yourself on marketing your book, as well as growing your audience beforehand, especially if you're doing a one and done book and you're not planning on doing any sequels, or you're not writing a series. So you need to allow yourself time and start early, because the best time to start marketing was yesterday. Okay, so the second thing I'm going to be talking about, and it kind of ties heavily into the first thing I was talking about, but I just let everyone in my social circle know that I was writing a book. Even if I went and started a conversation with a stranger in the coffee shop, I kind of just let them know hey, yeah, I just write apocalyptic novels on my free time, just to let people know. You don't have to go that extreme in letting strangers know, but that's just something I did. It just became natural that I let people know that I was writing a book. That way they at least knew what I was doing, because the one thing you need to do is at least get your name out there and to expose yourself as an author. A lot of people that you're going to be telling in your social circle may not be interested in buying your book, but you need to at least let them know that you as an author exists out there. And there are many ways to do this. You can just tell people at your family functions, at holidays, or even on your casual Instagram and Facebook channels, because that's pretty much where I did most of my marketing heavily, and that's where most of my audience was. But the thing is, you need to let your social circle know what you are doing, as well as marketing towards whatever genre or audience your book is centered around. But you want to let your social circle know, because maybe you have some friends that would like to support you and everything, and they're kind of easier to reach out, where you can be hey, I'm releasing a book, if you would like to purchase it, or if you like to leave a review for me when the book releases, that would be great. And you may have some friends or family that are willing to do that for you. Okay, so the third thing I would like to talk about is, obviously I created an author site fairly early on, way before my book was released, and started updating it all the time, and was posting weekly to bi-weekly blogs about my book, giving updates, and starting email campaigns and trying to engage with my audience that way. I kind of gave people a slight incentive to like subscribe to my author site because they could like receive updates of what I'm doing. I kind of gave some behind the scenes updates when it came to my book, as well as like early access to like my cover reveal, as well as like the first 5 chapters. You kind of want to do this, that way you kind of like keep your audience there, and that way you can like have your build up hype for your book through this website. Okay, so the fourth thing I would like to talk about is that I was very specific when placing my book under certain like genre categories with Amazon, because for me, I published through KDP and Ingram Spark, where I published through Amazon. And the thing is, I had to pick very specific categories for this book to fall under, because if you put something way too broad on the book, like for instance, I'm writing apocalyptic books, but what type of apocalyptic books? Like, I don't want to just throw like apocalyptic books, because there's a lot of them out there. So I kind of narrowed it down, and I did Christian fiction apocalypse. That way it kind of like narrows it down heavily. That way people that are searching for that specific genre can find my book, and you don't want it to get muddled and lost within this huge broad spectrum that you put your book in. As well as like, if you put it in a more niche category and people buy like 100 books within the first week like I did, it can easily shoot your book higher in the ranks for a little bit. That way you kind of like get up there with Amazon's algorithm, and then the book can be exposed to more people down the road. Okay, so the fifth thing I would like to talk about is that I reached out to a couple like independent author like bloggers, where I can have them like do interviews with me and then like kind of advertise my book for me. I'm still kind of doing that right now, but this is kind of important because you need to find other outlets to help expose your book, because certain bloggers may have an audience that like you are targeting for your book. So you can like communicate with them and be like, hey, like I'm releasing my book in 3 months. Would you mind doing a collaboration with me, or would you like to do an interview with me and help me expose my book? That way you can like have your book possibly be exposed to their audience, and then you can like gain more exposure that way. Because I did a couple of these when my book launched, but like definitely now I'm going to be really ramping up my efforts to like get more blog interviews and all that stuff when it comes to the sequel of my book. But I would say this is highly worth it, because you're going to be tapping into new audiences doing these sort of like blog tours or like blog interviews with other independent authors. But make sure that you pick people that are like going to be within your same genre. Otherwise you're going to get many like rejections, which is understandable, because they don't work with like a genre that you're working with. Or you don't want to like go over your head where you're like reaching out to people with like a million different followers that they blog to, because then you're going to be kind of asking for a little too much for them to like select you to like interview. Not saying that it's impossible, but I would say don't put your hopes too much in that. Just kind of like look around. This is going to take a lot of time, but I would say look around for like bloggers that like interview independent authors, as well as like find out if they work with a genre that you're working on, and then reach out to them. That way you can like gain more exposure. I would say definitely schedule to have these interviews or blog tours like a week leading up to your release, or like around the release date. I would say those are like the 2 key time frames you want to do it, because if you're trying to sell a bunch of books within that first week, you need to like start soon to build up hype. You don't want to do it after the fact, after your book is already sold. Okay, so the 6th thing I would like to talk about is lower the price of your book for that first week, or the release week of your novel. That way you kind of like funnel a lot of people into like buying your book on release day. Yes, it's good for them to pre-order and everything, but you're really trying to focus on this release week. So what I would say is like maybe lower your book by like 30%, or whatever Ingram Spark or KDP allows you to lower it towards, like as much as you would like to. But make it like where there's like a sale within the first release week. That way you kind of like funnel a lot of potential readers to buy your book within that first week of its release. I know this is like the opposite of like normal books where they kind of sell at full price, but then they kind of like lower their price as time moves on, or like during the holidays. But the problem is you have to remember that during holidays, many books are going on sale. So you're going to like be facing an uphill battle if you try to like sell a lot of books during those holiday weekends or holidays where you can lower your price of your book. I would say do it during your release day or release week. That way you can like kind of encourage people to buy within that first week. Okay, so the seventh thing I would like to talk about, and this is kind of a long section, but this is like joining independent author groups on Facebook or any social media that you may have. For me, I would say start this very early, and like there's two ways you can go about doing this. You can go through the promotion groups where you can promote your book as much as you want, or you can go through this is going to be most of them, but like groups where no promoting or advertising is allowed. So I'm going to talk about what to do with both of these. So the promotion ones are pretty self-explanatory. You can just advertise whatever you want about your book, but I'll say start very early, but not too early where like you're just hyping up forever and then like 5 months later then the hype has kind of died away when it comes to your book. I would say hype it up if you have your book ready for pre-order. Pretty much that way, if people see it and they want to buy it, they can just pre-order it right there. Not like before it and then they see it and then they get excited, but then they can't buy it and then your book gets forgotten about. Now the groups where you can't advertise, here's what you can do. You can join groups where you're meeting a lot of authors. You guys can learn from each other. But I would say heavily engage with these groups, like offer input, offer like some of your personal experiences with writing. That way you kind of establish yourself as a credible author, and you kind of build a relationship with a lot of these people and they know who you are. Like don't come in like a week before like your book releases and say, hey, I'm new to this group, but buy my book, it's coming out next week, because that's going to turn off a lot of people, and that's not what those groups are for. Now here's one thing I did to get around the whole no advertising, because you can't advertise saying, hey, my book is on sale, buy it right now. That's against the rules and you'll get banned, or your post is going to be taken down at the minimum. So what I did is like during like my cover reveal day and my release week, I just posted a picture of my cover and said something like, hey, I'm about to reveal the cover of my novel. Like, what do you think about this cover? And I just posted a picture of my cover, and a lot of people gave me good input. But I had some people say like, wow, this book looks very interesting. Where can I buy it? And I just like went on their name in the comments in Facebook, and I just like messaged them directly, because I didn't want to leave messages in the comments because that's against the rules, but messaged them directly and just told them where to find my book and where it was going to be available and what the release date was. Same thing was what leading up to that release week is that when the book was released, I just posted a picture and said like something like, hey, this is an exciting day, like I finally released my first novel. I'm very thankful to like my editor and everything. That way I'm not advertising or telling people to buy my book. I mean, secretly I am, but the thing is, that's not the main goal. The main goal here is to like get your book visible where people know it exists and they can see that cover, and then maybe some people can be like enticed to like ask you like, oh, that's an interesting book, I should check it out. Or they can like go on their own and be like, that cover looks good, or I like the name of that book, let me search it up on Amazon, see if it's something that I may be interested in. So this isn't like to sell books, and it's not to beat the system of these groups, because I suggested you obey the rules for them, but this is more like to get around to like expose your book. You're not trying to sell your book, you're trying to expose yourself and get like potential like people interested in your books. So that's what I would do in those type of Facebook groups. And those are the 7 tips that I have for you guys today. So this was a fairly like complicated like video to like put together, because I wanted to really isolate what tactics I did to like sell 100 books within that first week. Now I know it's not the best numbers that I could have put up, but it was pretty good for me never doing this before, and I had to do everything by myself. But I found that first week very exciting, and I can't wait to like build upon that like as my series grows and I continue on over the years. And also, if you enjoy this series, Journey to Publication, I'm going to be posting every Tuesday and Thursday, and maybe a few extra videos around those days in order to help you guys like take an idea that's in your head, translate it to the paper, and market it and publish it and become your own independent author. So, without further ado, I'll see you next time. Happy writing and goodbye.